Hi there, you guys. This is Jaden here, and today in this video, I've got another thoughts video for you guys. But this will end up being kind of a different type of thoughts video. This will be a triple feature thoughts video. And by that, I mean in this video, I'll be covering one episode each from three different animated shows. And the three episodes I'll be talking about in this video will be the Flight of the Draco episode from Wild Kratts, the latest Bluey episode called Surprise, and episode 487 of Naruto Shippuden, which is, of course, the episode that Adult Swim will be airing tomorrow night on Toonami. And yeah, but first, I'll be going over the Wild Kratts episode first. Spoiler alert, you have been warned. All right, now let's get to Wild Kratts. Now, first off, just so you guys know, this is definitely not my first time talking about Wild Kratts on my channel. I've talked about this show before, like, for example, on that one video I did over 6 months ago, which was a double feature thoughts video. And one of the episodes I talked about in that video was this Wild Kratts episode that Mr. Bean fan Disney 2005 requested me to watch called Platypus Cafe. So yeah, I watched that episode the night before I did that video, and I got a good refreshment on Wild Kratts after not having seen it in years. And I decided that Wild Kratts is just a good, solid B tier show. And I carried on with that opinion more when I did my animated shows of all time tier list, as I also had a B tier on that tier list. But lately, the Return to Fossa, my YouTube friend, has been really liking Wild Kratts, and yeah, he really likes it, and he has a good chunk of Wild Kratts casting choices in his Cameron Shrek style cast video that he had me react to like a week ago. And with him being obsessed with Wild Kratts now, he's been kind of getting me interested into watching more of the show, like how I got him interested to watch a lot of Total Drama, and now he's a big Total Drama fan like I am. So yeah, he's been kind of getting me interested in watching more of Wild Kratts, give it another chance, see if I think if it's anything more than just a B tier show. So yeah, the other night I watched this fourth episode of Wild Kratts called Flight of the Draco, and after watching it, has my opinion on Wild Kratts changed anymore? Let's find out. So basically, the episode's about the two main characters, Martin and Chris, discovering the Draco, in which, by the way, if you guys don't know what a Draco is, and by the way, I didn't know what a Draco was before I watched the episode. Basically, a Draco is a type of gliding lizard. It's a type of lizard, and Martin and Chris discovered this lizard throughout the episode, and they teach kids some interesting facts about the lizard, which is cool. And also, the episode's about Martin and Chris climbing up trees and stuff, and Martin is pretty used to climbing up trees without being scared of heights and all that shit. But Chris, he's too scared of climbing up trees and all that stuff. He's afraid of heights and falling. And to be honest, I'm a lot like Chris in that situation, because yeah, I would also be pretty scared to climb up trees like that. I've been like permanently scared of heights ever since like over 10 years ago when I broke my arm during a trip in July. So yeah, I don't blame Chris one bit for being scared to climb up trees. I would be too, because I do have a pretty intense aquaphobia. And just like how Chris gets taken away by the villains in Platypus Cafe, Martin gets taken away by the villains in this episode, and he gets in trouble with DeBio, Danita, and Zach, and they change his clothes, take him to a fashion thing or whatever, and Chris and company have to work together to save the day, to go get Martin and all that stuff. And overall, this was a pretty solid episode. I liked it. It had nice writing in it. It had some good education in it, good fun facts about lizards and all that stuff, good character interactions, and yeah, this was overall a pretty solid episode. Now, I remember that's something I criticized Wild Kratts for in my Platypus Cafe video, was the thing about it being too preschool friendly. Now, after watching this episode, I think I take that criticism back. I think I exaggerated a bit when I gave it that criticism in that old video from 6 months ago. And yeah, honestly, I think it's more of like an early elementary school show than it is a preschool show. You know what I mean? Yeah, I take that criticism back, but I don't think it changes my opinion on Wild Kratts that much. Although I think after watching this episode, I probably still like Wild Kratts a bit more, and I consider it now like either a B plus show or like an A minus show, like a low A tier show. Either way, though, I still enjoy Wild Kratts. I think it's nice, well animated. I could see why people like Your Animated 18, The Return to Fossa, and Mr. Bean fan all love it. And by the way, speaking of Your Animated 18, something I noticed while I was watching this episode is that some of the footage of Danita that was in this episode, Your Animated 18 used for part 2 of his Jack 1 Shrek 1 movie spook project. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. Like as soon as those clips came up on my screen, that like part 2 of his Jack Shrek project was probably like the first thing to come to my mind. But yeah, overall, I still like Wild Kratts. I think this episode made me like Wild Kratts a bit more. I definitely prefer this episode over Platypus Cafe, even though Platypus Cafe is a good episode too. But I like this episode a bit more. It has more relatable stuff in it. I think it has better plot writing, and more interesting educational stuff and all that stuff. And overall, this was a good episode, and I'll give it a 7 out of 10 rating. And now I think that Wild Kratts is either a B plus show or an A minus show. Either way, it's still a good show, and I might watch more episodes in the future along the way, especially if I get requested to watch more Wild Kratts episodes. And yeah, okay, now let's move on to another show. So, like almost 2 weeks ago, we got a new Bluey episode, and this episode is the 50th episode of season 3, and it's called Surprise. Now, this episode came out, like, it just happened to come out on the day after I did my video talking about the previous episode, The Sign, and since I praised that episode for it being emotional and having great writing and all that stuff, why don't I talk about this episode? Now, I don't plan on giving Bluey a thoughts video every time we get a new episode, but so I thought I'd talk about this episode for this triple feature thoughts video since I'm a big Bluey fan now and it's like my favorite preschool show. So yeah, let's talk about Surprise. So unlike the previous episode, which was like almost 30 minutes long, this episode's just your normal 7-minute Bluey episode, although I've read on Google that's supposed to be the season 3 finale, and I'm not that surprised by it since this is episode 50, like I said before. And basically the episode's about both Bluey and Bingo wanting their father Bandit to play a game with them, but the problem is each of them want to play a different game, so Bandit has to take turns playing games with both of these girls. And yeah, not only that, but there's also like a racing game going on the TV that he wants to watch too. So yeah, he has to do like 3 things at once, which could be pretty tough for the guy. And of course, the game that Bluey herself wants to play gives the episode its name, which is Surprise. And overall, as someone who is now a big Bluey fan, like I have talked about before, I did really enjoy watching this episode off my phone late last night before I went to sleep because it was really enjoyable and entertaining seeing Bandit like try to do 3 different things at once, watch a game and play 2 different games with his daughters, Bingo and Bluey. And not to mention, a question that they wonder in this episode is what would having kids be like? And yeah, as like they play these games with Bandit and as he's like trying to watch the game and all that stuff, they finally figure out what the answer to that question is. And probably my favorite scene in the episode is the ending scene of it, in which they show the characters years into the future. And if you want to know exactly how many years this is into the future, I don't know. They don't explain in the episode, but this could be like 20 years into the future or even like 30 years into the future. But anyway, yeah, they show Bluey being all grown up, visiting Bandit and Chili at their old house, and they show her being all grown up and Bandit and Chili being older. And yeah, when Bandit checks outside the door again to see if anyone else is outside the door, we get this funny part of Bluey's future child playing the surprise game with Bandit, which I thought was kind of funny and another way to add on the joke in the episode again. And yeah, that's probably my favorite scene in the episode, though I'm not entirely sure, but I do really like that ending scene in which we see the characters in the future and all that stuff. I can imagine them wanting to end the series again with like another scene of showing the characters in the future like this. Maybe like give us a sad goodbye scene with Bluey and Bingo saying goodbye to their parents and all that stuff. But yeah, overall, this was a great episode. I really liked it a lot. It was a nice way to end off my night last night by watching it late at night off my phone before I went to sleep. It was really enjoyable seeing my favorite character of the show, Bandit, struggle to do 3 things at once. And when it comes to which episode I like more between this and The Sign, I don't know. It's a pretty tough choice. I think they're both really close, but maybe I prefer Surprise a little bit more than The Sign. Although The Sign is still a great special, though, with a lot of great emotion to it. And even though I probably prefer Surprise over The Sign, I think that The Sign would have been a better series finale for the series, as they show the Healer family almost having to move out of their house and then being able to stay in their new house after getting this news throughout the whole episode, them having to move out of their old house and that emotional ending and all that stuff. So even though I probably like Surprise a bit more than The Sign, I think that The Sign would have been a better way to wrap up the season and the whole series in general than Surprise. You know what I mean? But by the way, even if this episode were to be the season finale or the series finale in general, I wouldn't be that mad since this is a great episode. Sure, maybe not the best for a final episode, but still, it's still a really good episode and a nice follow-up from that awesome Sign special. Okay, now let's move on to what is easily my favorite show out of these 3 shows, Naruto Shippuden, as tomorrow night Adult Swim will be airing episode 487 of this show on Toonami. And I watched the episode off my laptop a bit ago for the video. And what's my opinion on the episode? Well, let's find out. What is this episode about? So basically, it's part 4 of these Sasuke story episodes that Adult Swim's been airing on Toonami for like these past few weeks. So basically, what happens in this episode is that they continued from where they left off in episode 486 with Sasuke and Fushin in the woods and all that shit. And in this episode, okay, let me say that this episode starts off with what is definitely my favorite part of the episode, in which Sasuke and Fushin are fighting each other in the woods. Yeah, Sasuke versus Fushin, easily the highlight of the episode for me. No contest. Definitely the highlight of the episode for me. And I think tomorrow night I'll watch this episode on the DVR off of Roku just so I could watch the Adult Swim broadcast of this cool fight scene. It's a short but sweet fight scene of both Sasuke and Fushin going up against each other, and we get Sasuke using Sharingan and his Susanoo and all that stuff. And we also get like some cool music that plays during the Sasuke and Itachi versus Kabuto fight. And yeah, it's a great fight scene. And after that, the episode gets a little worse, but definitely not bad. Still enjoyable and watchable and all that stuff. But that fight scene at the very beginning, that fight scene alone at the very beginning is enough to make me want to walk this episode on the DVR. I mean, sure, the fight's definitely not Naruto versus Sasuke levels of good, but it's still a great fight scene, and I love the fight. I would love to rewatch that fight. But anyway, even outside that fight, Sasuke makes it to Hell Valley where he encounters Chino, and yeah, she's referred to as the ageless woman, and yeah, just so you guys know, that's why she was claiming to be a lot older than Sasuke in episode 485. So yeah, that answers that question. But anyway, he encounters Chino, like I just said, and Chino pretty much spends like the rest of the episode explaining to Sasuke this backstory that she has. And in this backstory, the girl explains a lot of stuff, like for example, her being a part of the Chino Ike clan, and not to mention Fushin. Yeah, Fushin, the dude I was talking about earlier who fought Sasuke in the woods. Yeah, he gets pretty heavily focused in this backstory too. And this backstory is a lot about the duo between both him and Chino, and it's about them being at that Coliseum that they were at in the last two episodes, and it's also about them joining the Lightning Gang and all that stuff. And there's also some blood in this episode. Some pretty dark stuff in this episode in general. That could apply to like this whole arc in general. Like, oh my god, man, these Sasuke story episodes are fitting to be pretty dark. Jeez. But yeah, like again, imagine if these episodes aired on Disney XD. So much censoring they would have to do. But yeah, guys, don't think that my love of the Sasuke fight scene at the beginning of the episode makes me like hate the story they go into later in the episode. No, no, no. I like the story with Fushin and Chino and all that stuff. Like, I don't just need intense action scenes to enjoy a fighting anime. I can enjoy some like more comedic scenes and nice storytelling in it as well. But like the Fushin and Chino story, it does not hold a candle to that beginning fight scene, in my opinion. It's still good. It's still entertaining. I was still enjoying that backstory they went through in this episode. But man, compared to that beginning fight scene, maybe not so much. But overall, this was still a really good episode. I did enjoy it. I would say it's a little bit better than the previous episode I talked about last week with episode 486. And overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll give it like a high 7, at least a high 7 out of 10. If not, like a low 8 out of 10. But yeah, I'll walk it on the DVR tomorrow night just for that beginning fight scene with Sasuke and Fushin. That beginning fight scene is awesome. The rest of the episode pretty much can't compare to that. But yeah, I still like the episode though. Overall, the episode is still good the whole way through. Maybe not the most consistent quality in a Naruto episode, but still I like the episode the whole way through. And I would say out of these 3 episodes I talked about in this video, it would be my second favorite out of the 3 episodes I talked about in this video. I think I like that Bluey episode I talked about a little bit more than this episode, even though I think that one Sasuke versus Fushin fight scene is better than that whole surprise episode of Bluey. I think on a more overall standpoint, I like the Bluey episode a bit more than this one. So to wrap all of this up, here's my quick ranking of the 3 episodes I talked about in this video. Number 3, Flight of the Draco from Kratts, 7 out of 10. Number 2, episode 487 of Naruto Shippuden, either a high 7 out of 10 or a low 8 out of 10. And number 1, Surprise from Bluey, 8 out of 10. But that's just my opinions on these episodes, guys. These are all still good episodes that I wouldn't mind watching again. And if you guys want to, you can let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think of these episodes, if you've seen any of these episodes? And maybe what's your favorite out of these 3 episodes? And yeah, that's it for this triple feature of thoughts video, everybody. Have a good day, and thank you all for watching this video, and bye.